Why does paint fail, and how do we prevent it?
Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is the DIY Detail Podcast. Today we're going to go into why does your paint fail? What happens to make your clear coat go from spectacular to, ooh, not so nice? And it's maybe a little different than what you think.
Ivan, you know what paint failure looks like. If you don't, we can put an image here. What's happening when paint is clearly failing? Because when you start detailing, you think that you could polish it away or maybe put a wax over it. The reality is it needs to get repainted. What causes it, and what's actually happening when we see an image like this?
So there's a couple different types of paint failure. One, people assume is sun-induced damage, and you see it a lot. I'm in Florida right now, and it seems like every fifth or sixth car has the clear coat peeling on the roof and the hood. That is one of them. The other one is crow's feet, which is like little cracks that look like chicken feet or crow's feet all over the upper surfaces of the vehicle. That is a different type of paint failure, and it's very specific. So we'll do that one first because it's quick and it's easy. You'll normally find it on Hondas and Acuras, and it actually results or stems from the paint underneath. So it's not the clear coat failing in this case. It's actually the paint underneath separating, and it usually happens, like I say, on the hood, sometimes on the roof and the trunk, but mostly on the hood. The heat from the engine exasperates it, makes it worse, and it's something that happens irregardless of where you are. You could be in, sunny California, you could be in Mexico, you could be in the Arctic. It really doesn't matter. That paint is going to fail. Honda has a technical service bulletin. If you are the original owner of the vehicle, it's probably already been repainted by now. But if not, they can or they should take care of you. It depends how much you complain, but eventually they will repaint the vehicle for you. But that's one type of paint failure. And like I say, it looks like little crow's feet, and it's nothing you can do. You can't polish it out. It has to be sanded back to bare metal. It's the only way to fix that.
Crow's feet as a detailer always gave me the signal of be very careful. Probably shouldn't polish. Let the customer know your clear coat is on the way toward failure, and this is kind of an early sign. I've seen it on different vehicles besides Honda. So the crow's feet, should I polish? Should I not? How much time do I have left after it's there? Or once it's there, it's like your prognosis is terminal?
Once it's there, it's there. And like I said, the only way to cure it is going back to bare metal, because it's actually it's a interaction between the primer and the base coat that didn't go well at the factory. So there's not much you can do there. As a detailer, we can protect it. We can maybe look a little better, and that's about it.
Can I polish? I mean, I've done it, so I know I can. I don't know what happened after. I sent it on its merry way, and the customer was happy. What happens when you polish crow's feet, paint?
You make it worse. So it looks better in the moment, but you're accelerating the failure.
Oh boy. Things you do when you think you know what you're doing and taking customers' money, and things you wish you knew in hindsight. I'll put this on the list. So to the detailer out there, last thing, enthusiast, I own the car, detailer, I see the car. Final words on crow's feet?
Keep it protected as much as you can, and hope for the best. And save up for a paint job. That's about all you can do for crow's feet. Or learn how to paint your car yourself. Your choice.
Well, crow's feet just looks a little bit less scary than just straight up failure, which you notice on the hood and you notice on the roof of a lot of vehicles. And in fact, for some reason, I see it on the roof more often than the hood. Is that because people just kind of ignore the roof?
Yeah. So you'll see it on the roof more often, especially of trucks, SUVs, things like that, because they don't get washed as often. And that is the root cause of all of this. People blame the sunshine. People blame I'm in the South. It's the heat that does it. It has a little to do with the heat, but it has a lot more to do with maintenance than anything else. And the reason that heat is a contributing factor, we'll get into shortly. But what happens is, and let's describe what it looks like for those of you listening on an audio-only podcast. And yes, we are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those great podcast channels. So if you're listening in audio-only podcast, clear coat failure, and we call it paint failure, but it's actually clear coat failure, starts by the clear coat looking a little cloudy in areas. And it looks like, oh, I could polish that off. Then that cloudiness becomes flakiness, or maybe even separation. So separation between the clear coat and the base coat. And then the clear coat flakes away or just goes away. Those are sort of the three stages. The first one, where it's just a little hazy, you can extend the life a little bit, but you're not gonna solve it even at that point. Polishing is not going to do anything. Polishing will help a little bit, but not much. Then from there, when it's starting to separate and delaminate, it's a lost cause. But what causes it is dirt. And you can have two cars that came out of the factory the same day, that were sold at the same dealership, that are the same color, that have the same mileage, that were both stored outside. One of them, 10 years later, looks brand new. The other one, 10 years later, the clear coat is peeling on it. And when you go back through the history of the vehicle, what caused it or what prevented it was keeping the car clean. I'm not talking about a full-on detail. I'm just talking about keeping the car clean.
You're not talking about even protecting it. You're just talking about keeping it clean.
Protection is obviously the best, the best remedy here. But that being said, just washing the car is actually enough to protect it. What's happening if we look at the paint as an organism or a microscopic little thing on itself? You have dirt that lands on the paint. When that dirt lands on the paint, it's on the surface. So let's assume you have a vehicle with no protection. You have no wax, you have no NV, you have no quick beads, you have no ceramic coating. That dirt goes on the surface. Now this is where heat and sunshine come into play. The little speck of dirt, it's a little darker, and it heats up in the light of the sun. The sun hits it, that little speck of dirt heats up. The clear coat is a plastic. What happens to hot plastic? It gets soft. So that dirt starts working its way into the surface. Once it's made its way into the surface, that's when we start having more and more issues. So as a detailer, we wash our car, or we wash the customer's cars, whatever, on a weekly basis. That dirt doesn't really have time to really grasp and set in. So it might have been a couple days in the sun, hot and cold cycles. It's trying to draw that dirt in, but it doesn't quite make it. As a detailer, the other thing we can do is decontamination. And decontamination, we have the visible contamination, which could be brake dust, diesel soot, etc., and you can feel it. But the big killer is actually minerals, so mineral contamination. That mineral contamination that we can't see, because sometimes it shows up as water spots, but sometimes it's just a nice little layer of minerals everywhere. So if you're living on a coastal area and you get that dew in the morning that's very salty, those minerals are on your surface. They're getting in there. After that, once you get that mineral contamination, or once you get that dirt and contamination on the vehicle, now when it rains on it, what does the water do? It just sits there. And when that water just sits there, it's not enough to flush it away. When your vehicle is beating, basically what's happening is that water, as it's beating up, the surface tension actually lifts the dirt off the surface. Not all of it, but helps get some of it off the surface. Whereas when you have just dead, flat paint that hasn't been maintained, the water just sits there and actually acts like a magnifying glass, making it even worse for the heat. So those are all the contributing factors to your paint failing. And the more you maintain your vehicle, because I've heard, in the old days, people, you're going to wash the paint off your car. No, you're not going to wash the paint off your car if you've got good wash technique. If you're taking it through the car wash every week with the brushes, you might wash the paint off your car eventually. But even that is better than not washing your car.
Ivan, you spoke so clearly there, but you mentioned some things early that I wonder if some people don't know much about. You talked about base coat and clear coat and primer, and some people don't know what any of that is. So how would you inform them of the basics of paint and how it relates to clear coat failure, and kind of why should they know that, or why should they care?
Yeah. So your paint is applied to your vehicle in layers. The first layer is e-coat, and that's a rust proofing thing that goes on the metal. It actually etches into the metal.
Right. We have the metal panel, right? Like the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they put a rust, or it could be fiberglass.
Yeah, it could be fiberglass, could be plastic, could be aluminum, could be steel, carbon fiber, you name it. There's a lot of different substrates. But On a metal panel, it starts with E-coat. On a plastic or fiberglass or carbon fiber, it generally will start with a primer. So the primer is there to act as a more or less a very tenacious glue. It's trying to keep everything together. So it's acting as a bonding surface. So it bonds well to the paint. The paint bonds well to it. Now, if we go back 30, 40 years, cars had single stage paint, which meant they still had the E-coat. E-coat came around in the early 70s. So
And
you
what does
had
E-coat mean?
that's the etching. So the electroplating coat. So it's there to protect the metal from rusting. Then we have the primer, and the primer's been a constant for decades. So it's changed over the years, obviously, but we still have a primer. And the primer, depending on your vehicle, could be gray, could be red, could be white, could be black. Depends on the vehicle. Really doesn't matter. Then you have your color coat. And in modern paint systems, the color coat is protected by a clear coat, which, as the name implies, is just a layer of clear paint. There's no pigment to it. 60s, 70s, early 80s, we had vehicles with single stage paint. And there's still some vehicles today, primarily white Toyotas, that have single stage paint. But single stage paint means there's no clear coat. The pigment is actually in the paint, and so is the glossing. So are the glossing agents. But a base coat, clear coat has separated those two. So you have the pigment in one layer, and then on top of it, you have a clear layer to help protect that pigment. When we had single stage paint, your vehicle would fade over time. So you'd start off with a beautiful red vehicle, and 2, 3, 4 years later, it was pink if you didn't maintain it. Again, even back then, if you maintained your vehicle, you kept it waxed, you kept it clean, it would stay red for the rest of its life.
So the pinking means like that was the paint failure back then before base coat, clear coat? Okay.
Yeah, and that was the fading of the single stage paint. So your single stage paint went from bright red to pink, or from yellow would degrade almost to white, or you'd have a nice deep royal blue and it would end up a chalky baby blue. So that was the clear coat failing. And we have a video on the channel. The thumbnail says oxidation in big, and that was a single stage pickup truck that we resurrected. So it's actually easier to redo a single stage paint or save a single stage paint than it is a clear coat paint. Once clear coat has failed, it's failed. There's no real turning back here.
Yeah, I burned through single stage red and it went kind of pink. And I didn't really understand what to do after that, except for that I really made a big boo-boo because I didn't understand single stage very well. And again, there I was a pro taking money from customers, not taking, earning, and most customers were very happy. But there's an element to you kind of fake it till you make it. As you grow, you just can't possibly know everything there is to know, right? You don't get to know what you know until you've done 1,000 cars, right, Ivan? There's what advice do you have to detailers who might be getting a little scared now? They're like, uh-oh, this sounds like more than I can understand or comprehend.
We're part of something called YouTube, and YouTube University is a great thing. Now, not all the information is, let's say, backed by science. A lot of it is backed by feel and intuition. But if you look at the body shop channels on YouTube, because I used to own body shops, that's why I have a little deeper knowledge of paint than many detailers because of that body shop background. So as detailers, we can actually study some body shop content and learn from those people as well. Just to see, why does paint do this, or how does it do that, and why, and all the aspects of what goes into painting a vehicle. And when you see what actually goes into painting a vehicle, you'll be happy that you can polish a vehicle and make it look better without having to repaint it. Painting is a lot of work.
And that's why a repaint is a good one, is usually a lot of money, thousands of dollars. I'll walk down the streets like if I'm in a summery location like Florida, like you mentioned, or California, and I just tend to see a lot more clear coat failure. I don't know if it's just people parking outside under heavy sun, and I can just tell, okay, this vehicle's been neglected. The clear coat failed. Is that the long and short of it? If you neglect your paint, the clear coat will fail. If you take care of it, it won't. Is it more complex than that?
It's actually not more complex than that. It's just that simple. If you maintain and protect your paint, it's going to reward you by being shiny, by being easy to clean, and by lasting a very long time. Neglect your paint, and the higher the UV index, the higher the sun, the higher the temperature, the faster that heat accelerates the breaking down of your clear coat. And that breaking down, like I said, comes mostly from the dirt and the minerals being able to go into the paint. So you mentioned the roof, and I've spent the last couple of weeks in Florida here, and you'll see on especially pickup trucks and SUVs, the roof is just gone. Like the paint is flaking, or the clear coat is flaking. The hood's not too bad. The sides are perfect, and uh, the roof especially, and this is something that I can trace back to you in a way. In the beginning of the channel, you would ask me, it's like, do we really have to wash the roof? It's like, yes, that's actually one of the most important parts to wash, because it's the one that gets bombarded with dirt, with minerals.
We didn't have the perfectly safe brush at the beginning of this channel, all right, a few years ago, and I hated doing the roofs of trucks. But now that we have the PSB, which as of recording isn't back in stock, we hope that as of airing, we're so close or we're back in stock. It sells out every time for a reason. Perfectly safe brush. You put it on a broom handle or our collapsible handle if that's in stock at the time of this airing. Anyway, it makes washing the roof so easy. No more excuses, old Nick.
No more excuses.
No more excuses.
Yeah, and we have a container of them coming. So if we run out this time, then people saying that, oh, I never wash a car with brushes, they've been lying to you. They wash cars with brushes. But nonetheless, not cleaning your roof is a recipe for clear coat failure. And not washing your vehicle is a recipe for clear coat failure. And even though you can have the best protection in the world, so someone that puts on a ceramic coating, so you've got our nice 8-year ceramic coating on there, but you don't wash it afterwards. Even the ceramic coating, eventually that dirt, that contamination will break through and make it down to that clear coat and start lifting off or separating the clear coat from the base coat.
They say the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. So
Yes.
Let's say you've neglected your paint for a long time. What can you do now to stave off clear coat failure? Like, what am I going to do from the wash stage? What am I going to do for the decon stage? What am I going to do for the protection stage, Ivan? Whether it's new or 10 years old. I do not want my paint to peel off. This is a SOS emergency we're trying to ward off.
Right. So the best thing you can do to start off is just wash your car. So wash your car, keep it clean. Now that you've washed the car, decontaminate. And decontamination is a multi-step process. First step is the wash, obviously. Then iron remover with the perforated synthetic decontamination or a quad fold towel. That will take off the mineral contamination and mechanically decontaminate. So all that stuff that's there that's harsh and feels like sandpaper when you run your hand over it, that's going to be gone. And then the one that most people miss, and the one that's actually probably the most damaging, is mineral contamination. So that's when we take the water spot remover, and you could say, well, I don't have a water spot on my car. I've never seen one. I don't even know what a water spot is. You still have minerals on your car. You need to get those minerals off your car. So we take the minerals off the car. Once we've done that, now we're down to beautifully clean paint. The next step, especially if it's not a brand new vehicle, is a light polishing. And you've heard us say this before, every time you're polishing a car, you're damaging a car. Because every time we polish a car, we're removing clear coat. But if we do it in a controlled fashion, we don't go crazy, we don't go ape on it, we just do it to enhance the paint. What we're really doing is deep cleaning and removing any oxidized clear coat. And oxidized clear coat is a thing. You may not see it, but it's there. I'll have you search back through the archives, Nick, but we had a gray Kia Soul on the channel. And that gray Kia Soul looked almost white because the paint was chalky. The clear coat was on the verge of failing, and that upper surface of the clear coat had failed. We were able to bring that back, and it wasn't that difficult, and we made it look really good. In fact, the dealership that we borrowed the car from, because when we saw this car at the dealership, it was like, oh, this is one we need for the channel. And it had been sitting on the lot for 3 months. It hadn't moved, and they sold it a couple days later because someone came and saw it and was like, wow, this car is nice. So
yeah, it looked good afterwards, but that was a lot of work, Ivan.
That was a lot of work, but it was worth the effort. And with that, so we want to do a light polishing. And polishing, for those of you who have never polished a vehicle before, you don't have to go out and buy a couple $100 polisher. You can do it with a palm sander. It's that simple. It's not that difficult. We're just trying to clean the paint. We're not trying to make it perfect, or we're not trying to remove scratches. We're just trying to deep clean the paint. And the gold standard polish, the yellow waffle pad, does a great job with that. From there, then we need protection. And the best protection you can give your vehicle is a ceramic coating. There's no questions about that. Wax is fun. Sealants are great. Coating cannot be beat. So, and even if you're a wax lover, you're the type of person that likes to wax your car once a month, put a coating on your car. Even though you're going to be waxing it, put a coating on your car. That gives you a strong foundation. That gives you a beautiful thing to work from, and then you can add your wax on top. That's even more protection.
So if I want to entertain some of the debate online, there's a lot of discussion about whether ceramic coatings have UV protection in them. And what I'm hearing you say is even keeping your car clean is its own kind of UV protection. What can you say about UV protection in the washing and the protecting, especially as it relates to ceramic coatings?
So ceramic coatings, we commonly say that they offer UV protection. And that's because of public perception. The public perceives that the paint fails because of ultraviolet rays. That's a small part of it. Why it really fails is oxidation. And the coating blocks the oxygen. So it has a bit of UV protection in it. That's not its main function. The oxidation prevention is much stronger with a coating than the UV protection. There is a bit of UV protection in there, and that's fine. Your clear coat is what's actually providing the most UV protection. There are UV inhibitors in clear coat. We want to protect those UV inhibitors from oxidation. That's where the clear coat, or that's where the ceramic coating comes in. So yes, it is in essence blocking UV, but not by its own presence. It's helping the system to block UV through oxidation prevention.
So does it offer UV protection or not?
Coatings offer a very minimal amount of UV protection, but think of it this way. Your paint system, so the e-coat, the base, or the e-coat, primer, base coat, and clear coat, if you're lucky today, it's 100 microns thick. So we're looking, 100 is an easy number to imagine.
Right.
Your coating that you're putting on top is 1 micron thick. So that 1 micron is not going to do much in terms of UV protection compared to the 40 or 50 microns of clear coat you have on there. But that 1 micron will do a great job of protecting those 50 microns of clear coat. And the other thing that the coating does, it has a harder surface to it. It cross-links a lot better. It's not as porous as the clear coat. So now that dirt that's sitting on top is much easier to wash away, and it's not going to penetrate as deeply into the paint or into the clear coat at that point. And that is what's actually, or in the minerals, same thing. That's what's preventing your clear coat from failing.
It's worth noting that if you're washing clear coat failure paint, you could get flakes of paint into your wash sponge, into your decontamination towel. That can lead to further damage on other non-damaged parts of paint. That can also kind of mess up your towel. What do you tell someone who has clear coat failure on their vehicle already? They can't afford a repaint because that's a lot of money, and they're just trying to do the best they can with what they got.
Yeah, we did a short video recently where I took the hood of a early 2000s Honda that the paint was flaking. I used compressed air to remove the flaking paint. It was that flaked off. And with that, even in the video I described this pad, this is the last vehicle it's going to polish. The towels that I was using, this is the last vehicle they're going to be touching because of those little flakes of clear coat. And even though I, use the compressed air to blow the majority of them off, there could have still been one in there. I don't want to take a risk. And a polishing pad is not that expensive. And, limit the amount of towels you're using, not that expensive either. So that is something that's a great consideration to take when you have flaking clear coat. The tools that you're using are a one-time use.
And if that's all over your vehicle, I guess you have to be aware of that and act accordingly.
It's rarely all over the vehicle. It's normally on the upper surfaces. It'll be on the roof, it'll be on the hood, might be on the upper portions of the doors and the trunk lid if you have a trunk lid. but rarely do you see it on the sides because that dirt doesn't sit on the sides like it does on the roof, and it's not affected by the sun as much.
Ivan, we use water spot remover in that decontamination step you mentioned. So you iron remover and use a decon towel. Then you rinse the paint. Obviously, you've cleaned it first with the wash. Then you use the iron remover and the towel. Then you rinse. And then you spray on water spot remover and then you agitate it in. Could you agitate the water spot remover in with the perfectly safe brush instead of a microfiber towel?
No.
No.
No, it's not good for the brush.
Mm.
The brush is slightly acid resistant, but you're going to wear your brush down too quickly. So just take a nice, microfiber towel, a short nap, and agitate it that way. That is the best way of agitating it.
We do get some questions about clear coat failure, Ivan, but we do get a lot of them about water spots. So if folks want to learn more about what are water spots, how do they happen, and how do we actually remove them, I think there's a great video for them to watch.
Yeah, right up there.
It's right here.